ITFC have added one more body in the building ahead of the transfer window slamming shut. But first and foremost, we have got a game on Saturday to discuss. This is the Blue Monday podcast. Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast discussing Ipswich Town up or down since 2015. I'm Richard Woodward and this is the Prematch Show brought to you in partnership with our friends at the Greyhound Pub in Ipswich. We're available live before every ITFC weekend game here on YouTube and available on podcast audio shortly afterwards. And joining me to talk about, there's plenty of news this week, Seb, and we've alluded to it in the intro, haven't we? Seb Brown's here. How are you, mate, first and foremost?
I'm good, thank you. I'm very good. I'm excited. We've got a new signing to talk about. I bet you cannot wait for 11 p.m. tomorrow, can you? I bet you can't wait for it all to be over until January the 1st.
I hate it. I'm not even going to pretend.
Hate's a very strong word.
I think it's an absolute circus, and I think it creates a really bad situation. I feel bad for players who are being kind of touted about a little bit, and then deals don't happen and they have to go back to their teams with their tails between their legs or jettisoned out, into the reserves. I just think it encourages short-term behaviors. It encourages fans to get really high expectations and then get really disappointed when Ipswich don't spend 7 million quid on a striker. I just think the only people who win are Sky and football agents. I've said it consistently. And people will be pleased to hear that if Craig makes it back over from France tomorrow night.
No, it's Joe, isn't it, from France?
I think both of them are travelling from somewhere, aren't they? I think Craig mentioned Folkestone.
Right.
They will do a late night love-in on transfer deadline stuff tomorrow night. If we put our feelers out and there's sense that business might get done, then we will go live. They will go live. I will ignore it completely, but fill your boots. If people enjoy it, that's totally fine. I'm merely expressing my opinion that I think it's an absolute farce of a thing. So, but you haven't expressed an opinion on this, though. Let's hear. What's your take?
I don't really mind it in the slightest, to be honest. Really? I'm not a big one. I mean, I used to really enjoy it back in the day. Do you remember the year when I think Berbatov was going to United and Robinho was going to City, and there was the Andy Carroll, Fernando Torres year? There've been some big, decent deadline days, but I've not watched it for years, to be honest with you. It's nice to be involved. I mean, Christ, how many years in a row did we have TWTD understands there will be no business at Portman Road?
We did, Jeff.
Yeah, we did absolutely nothing for years on end. So I think it's nice that we're a little bit involved as I expect us to be tomorrow. I guess it probably suggests that our window might not have gone totally to plan, given the plans earlier in the summer and some of the statements issued by the club. But I'm happy to see what comes tomorrow. It'll give me something to do to refresh during work and keep an eye on.
Yeah, we'll talk about the arrival of Dane Scarlett shortly. But yeah, in terms of speculation, go and join the Telegram group and join the transfer chatter there if you want to indulge yourselves over there.
You'll for another 25 hours until it's instantly shuts down.
Well, and then it becomes match day chat again, thankfully, and some sanity is restored. So if you want to indulge in idle speculation in the chat, don't expect a huge amount of attention from me pressing the buttons. But Craig and Joe will love all of that kind of stuff tomorrow, and they are your port of call for that kind of stuff. They're much more chilled and relaxed on this kind of stuff than I am. We've spoken for about 3 minutes. We haven't said hello to folks in the chat. As I said, we are live. We want to hear from you, unless it's about transfer rumors. Charlie's with us. Neil is with us. Nigel's here from South Carolina. And I reckon, is that an Ipswich crest or is that a Suffolk crest? I think it's an Ipswich crest, isn't it? There in his profile pic. David is with us. Saw him last week at the ground, along with Tim in a wet Plymouth. Good day to Michael. Hello to Matt, to Mullet. Andy, this is the voice of the Misterons because Dane Scarlett and all that. That's one for the kids.
Captain Scarlett was brilliant. So it was second for me. Thunderbirds, Captain Scarlett, Stingray.
There you go. That was a ranking.
Get your top threes, people, in the chat.
Yeah, stick that in the chat. I'll indulge that. Yeah, Jerry Anderson shows in. What about Space Precinct? Do you remember that?
That was much later. That was real people.
It was. It's Jerry Anderson though. We're ranking Jerry Anderson shows.
I prefer puppets.
Good. There's your clip for TikTok next week. Daryl's with us. Nick Rodders, Ipswich old boy. Scarlett, very good bit of business in his opinion. Mark is here. Bonsoir to Neil in Paris. Clinton is with us as well. Rich going full 90s tonight. I'm not sure. How did I'm always 90s, let's be honest, but might need to be more specific. Jules is here and he's manning the predictions on behalf of the Telegram group. So we shall hear what Jules has got to say for what is happening on the weekend. But for now, there we go. Sam gets a shout out for a Peter Modern-Wingy message.
That was brilliant, wasn't it? Sat in a car park. Was it a QPR? Sat at a car park in QPR,
was
waiting
it West Brom or something? Or yeah. A lot of folks joining us. Thanks everyone for there we go. Terrahawk, says Neil. And an old Ipswich crest. There you go. Season ticket holder in the US for a holiday. There you go, Nige. So enjoy South Carolina. We've tiptoed around it. Let's talk about Dane Scarlett. Seb, I kind of checked myself because we've been talking about Thunderbirds and Captain Scarlett. But yeah, deal to join ITFC on loan from Spurs, someone we know very well from his time at Portsmouth last season. In fact, played in all three of our games, I think, against Portsmouth and scored in one of them as well. One of these players, Seb, with excellent pedigree. I think probably first and foremost in respect of this one, it's the opinion of Kieran McKenna that we're probably most interested in, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I've seen quite a few things on social media and the message board saying people are a bit underwhelmed. For me, I think it's an excellent signing. I understand people do want to go and spend, crazy money on a recognised striker, but we've just signed a guy from Spurs who Kieran McKenna 12 months ago described as one of the best young talents in world football, not the UK, not Europe, world football. So, McKenna clearly knows his onions. He knows far more about football than any of us do. And I think it's another excellent signing. He adds a bit of versatility. He can cover in sort of a variety of attacking areas. Obviously, he got hardened up, so to speak, last year at Portsmouth under the Cowley. So he's gone out and played a bit of man's football. Played on the left a little bit, only got 6 goals. So I think he sees himself primarily as a striker, but 2 good feet. He seems to have bulked up in the summer. England caps.
He's got 2 feet, is he?
He's got 2 feet. Yeah, 2 feet. Yeah,
it's so he's not going to fall over. That's good.
No, always a good attribute for a footballer. And yeah, I think it's a really smart, decent signing that ticks a box of covering sort of wide players, either wide in the number 10 role or through the middle.
Yeah, and represented at England youth level as well. The Pompey spell, we need to kind of caveat it. Obviously, started didn't he?
You're not going to shine as a young, gifted, technical player in a Danny Cowley side, are you?
And evening to Danny Cowley if he's
watching, I'm sure he's watching. I'm sure he's there.
He's doing his research. And I think when John Messina come in, worth a big shout out to Jacob Powell. He's been doing some research and stuff for us for videos that we put out on transfer targets, and we put out 5 striker targets, and Dane Scarlett features in that list. So there's a little bit more information in there from Jacob, voiced by me. Don't know that put you off. But he was saying that John Messina came in and reverted to, I think it was maybe a 4-4-2 and shifted Scarlett out wide where maybe he didn't excel. And Colby Bishop was on a good run of form as well. So very difficult.
And they had the Harry Kane of Joe Pigott, as he was referred to.
And the Harry Kane of Joe Pigott. So all in all, a few mitigating circumstances around that loan spell. I don't think we should read too much about it. Just the fact that Spurs have extended his contract at the same time. I know it's protecting their investment, Seb, but they wouldn't do that unless they thought there was a good fee that potentially could come out of this as well. And I think Town fans need to remember this as well. Some of these loans, Brandon Williams, probably more so than Amari Hutchinson, is if they do well at Ipswich and, we are competitive in the transfer market, which I think we typically are at these kind of ranges, then these players might end up being permanent. And we've seen that with George Hurst, obviously. So yeah, don't read too much into the loans and the fact that
these will be costing us rather than I
was going to say,
the rumored wages of Brandon Williams and Dane Scarlett's very highly rated, so he'll be on a good wage as well. So I'd imagine there are hefty wage contributions and probably upfront monthly payments and stuff as well. So yeah, these are as good as transfers in some ways. I know you don't get to keep the asset at the end of the 12 months if it doesn't go to plan, but the outlay on these will be considerable.
Yeah. Let's have a see what the chat has to say. Neil, is he the new Troy Parrott? Obviously highly rated Spurs striker when he came to us, maybe didn't make a massive contribution, probably again mitigating circumstances around that one. But
yeah, played.
I think maybe the ceiling is a bit higher for Scarlett. Maybe
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, yeah, Troy Parrott was kind of very highly rated. Came here, but he came off the back of a spell. Was he at Millwall? I think in the Championship, hadn't done much. So Scarlett for me looks to have a higher ceiling. I think he's more of a technically gifted player, and he can cover a variety of positions as well. And obviously, Troy Parrott came into that really appalling Lambert/Cook side that couldn't do anything for 6 months in the first half of 2021. So no, I think Scarlett is a big upgrade on Troy Parrott personally.
Yeah, Rodder's here saying he's Tyrese John Jules plus, and I think that's a really fair comparison. Actually, yeah, it's a good shout. David here comments by Spurs fans. Where were these, David? We need your source. See him as a Kane replacement in time. That's high praise.
Well, he's been involved in pre-season, hasn't he? So Ange Postecoglou clearly thinks something of him. So
yeah, and Mullet making a fair point that Harry Kane went to a load of no-mark clubs on loan before he found the right place and made his way in the Spurs team. So yeah, fingers crossed that might be us. Any other thoughts on that? Yeah, Nige cannot believe the negativity. Scarlett, great for me. In McKenna we trust and should trust. Quite
totally
right indeed. Jacob's with us. Hello, Jacob. Yeah, Cali played a 4-4-2. Messina switched to 4-3-3 with Bishop up top. So Scarlett was shifted left. There you go, Jacob. Thank you. Feel free to chip in wherever I go wrong. If you've done research in Cardiff as well, please correct us too. We appreciate that. Thank you, everyone, for thoughts in the comments. Continuing bits and pieces of news. One, I think we might run out of time for this on the flagship, so we'll deal with this now. We need to give a huge amount of praise, continuing praise from his efforts from last season to Connor Chaplin, who was named the PFA League One Player of the Season, Seb, for his 26 goals and vital contribution. Beat off, I always hesitate on that statement, defeated in the vote or whatever it is, Johnson Clark Harris at Peterborough, Bolly Mumber at Plymouth, David McGoldrick at Derby, now Notts County, Aaron Collins at Bristol Rovers, and he beat Barry Bannon.
Sheffield Wednesday's Barry Bannon.
Yeah, a lot of love for Chaplin, obviously, from last season. And worth noting as well, Morsey, Davis and Chaplin were in the PFA League One Team of the Year. Just endorsing Seb. Brilliant. What a great season we had, which we all know.
Yeah, fully deserved. I've got a couple of bugbears about it. Why has it taken 3 months after why are we into nearly September and they've only just announced it now? Why did they do it during the League Carabao Cup in midweek? It seems really weird timing. I don't know if it's there must be a reason behind it. I don't remember it being this late normally, but
it's nuts, isn't it? Because also you had the what was the awards that happened like 2 months before the season ended, where whatever that was, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember what that was. But yeah, the timings are so strange. Also, quick shout out to
writers,
I think Idris El Mazouni got in the League Two side of the year as well, didn't he? So a great recognition for some great individuals in an absolutely brilliant season. Good to see, but they should have been awarded it in May.
And the only team to have 3 players in that PFA League One team as well. But yeah, I mean, if you manage to see off Barry Bannon in a vote, you know you're doing well, and that's against 70% of the population. I don't know where I'm going. I'm trying to merge in some David Brent stuff. Give us your very quick thoughts on Reading in the Carabao Cup. Seb, Wolves up next, which is at home, which is good. Again, against an opposition that we might fancy our chances on. Might give us useful insight as to where we stand as well. Give us your take.
Yeah, I think it's a useful exercise. I think Reading obviously made a load of changes and there were some kids involved, but we did what we had to do to get across the line. It was about getting minutes in players' legs. I guess the talking points are going to be, what an assist, by the way, by Lee Evans. Lovely ball through. But Ladapo's goal is Ladapo's goal is a big plus. Edmondson with the mistake in the 87th minute. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the guy that scored the equaliser for Reading. But Edmondson's mistake, I guess, has been sort of focused on heavily. And then we saw Ipswich win a penalty shootout, which is, well, it's getting more common these days. We beat Peterborough, we beat Cole-U, now we've beat Reading and Wolves in the next round. First off, it's at home, brilliant. We don't want to be travelling around in between the Blackburn and Huddersfield games, and I guess they'll have vastly different designs and priorities this season. I would expect them to make quite a few changes. That said, I think the side that they put out in their game was still over 100 million quid's worth of transfer fee players involved. So although it will be a reserve side, we've still got to remember it's a Premier League reserve side from a pretty well-established Premier League club. So it's going to be a very good test. It'll be interesting if we were to continue with this policy of, giving squad players and youngsters minutes, or if we look to bring in a couple of the more established guys against better opposition, because if we can get through, the draw will open up nicely because there were some big old juicy ties, weren't there? So there is a real chance of getting a big boy, shall we say, in the next round if we can go through.
Yep, indeed. And it's minutes, as you said, without the Pizza Cup, amongst others, and we'll obviously see the state of the play. The guys, we've mentioned it tomorrow. If we go live tomorrow, we'll kind of do a bit of a summing up of the squad. and where we stand, but clearly we're expecting maybe some departures as well. But those players that are on the fringes that can't find these moves because they have to rush to find a move on deadline day,
let it go.
They're still going to be here, aren't they? And they're going to need minutes, aren't they? And we know the reserve league and the under-21s league is not so great. So so we will see how we get on against Wolves. I'm excited for that. Back to Portman Road. And finally, before we start talking about Cardiff, some 15 minutes into the podcast, it's what we're here to talk about, but plenty of goings on, as you can, as you all know, and we're just here to give our opinion very quickly, but ITFC women are kicking off their league season at home on Sunday against Plymouth Argyle, who started the season with a pretty hefty 6-0 thrashing by Billericay, who Town then defeated last week in the FA Women's National League Cup determining round. So do join us on Sunday. Well, obviously a double header with Cardiff game on Saturday and then Plymouth on Sunday. 2 p.m. kickoff at the AGL Arena in Felixstowe. You can buy tickets. If you're listening to this before midday on Friday, you can get your tickets in advance or just pay on the turnstile. And season tickets are still available as well, and very competitively priced they are too. But come and join us in the noisy section where I bang the drum. We had some new people join us last week. So if you're trying to find something to do on a Sunday, trip to Felixstowe is excellent, but why not improve it by coming down and supporting the Tractor Girls, who are off to a really good start, and we'll be hoping to continue that and to challenge once again for promotion honours. Should we talk about Cardiff then? Should we finally get on to Cardiff, Seb? We always try and find a little bit of a punchline, a headline to talk about these teams now and get everyone's kind of eye, and now we're back at championship level. And for Cardiff, really, it's a weird time, isn't it? A lot of off-field question marks, managerial changes, and some really, if we're being honest, for a relatively recent Premier League team, certainly more recently than Ipswich, poor finishes in the Championship, and close to a relegation. Last season, wasn't it? And one of these clubs, maybe that. Your words here, circling the drain, the turd that won't flush, whatever you want to say.
Thanks, throw me under the bus for all the Cardiff fans. Thanks for
that. Hi,
that.
Cardiff. We haven't done our weekly caveat, by the way. We are Ipswich fans. We don't know your team as well as you. We've done lots of research. We might go wrong.
The other caveat is I did not use the word turd circle.
Those
I used
were
the
my
term
words.
Circling the drain, but
but and then there's other bits that I quite like about Cardiff, and then there's some the kind of the prodigal son returns in terms of a marquee signing, should we say, in the summer. Talk to us about last season. Remind us where Cardiff ended last season.
Well, they narrowly avoided relegation. They finished on space number 21 with 49 points. They end up avoiding relegation by 5 points. They lost 23 games last season, so they lost half the games they played, and that was the worst in the league. They only scored 41 goals, so less than a goal per game, which was the second worst in the league. The defense was reasonable, was better, not great, but better. They had the best defense in the bottom 8, but it was very much a season of just circling the drain, doing what you can to get over the line. And then for the third week running, after QPR 2 weeks ago and Leeds last week, I left the managerial headline the same, because we've come across another one of these clubs that have had 4 managers in a season, which just seems crazy. But as the great Harry from Bath said, owners relegate clubs. They have these kind of clubs tend to have massive managerial upheaval, and that's exactly what we saw last season with Cardiff. They started with Steve Morrison, who was there until September. He loses 5 out of the first 10 games, and he gets moved on. Mark Hudson comes in and takes over. Starts pretty well, 7 points from the first 3 games, but they just go on an awful run. He's fired in January after a spell of no wins in 8 league games. Dean Whitehead comes in as a caretaker for a couple of games and loses them both, and then Sabri Lamucci ends up rocking up there on a short-term 6-month contract until the summer, obviously known for his time at Forest, where he kind of did okay and completely imploded on the last day of the season when they lost, was it 5-0, 5-1 to Stoke, and Swansea won 5-0, which allowed them to leapfrog them into 6th place. He went in, kept them up. He won 6 out of his 18 games. So he gets them across the line. I guess they were kind of expecting him to stay on maybe and look to build, but he kind of leaves pretty quickly after the season ends. And it's just another example of the madness that is the Championship, where clubs can have 4 managers in a 9-month period, do just about to scrap over the line, and then it all starts again for them in pre-season. It really is a crazy league, isn't it? To have the same thing 3 weeks on the bounce with QPR, Leeds, and now Cardiff shows what a basket case some of these clubs can be in the league.
And a bit surprising as to how they stayed there, frankly, because I know that we had our deterioration, shall we say, in mix last season, and then what I have, other people might disagree, a kind of necessary parting of the ways there. And obviously Marcus Evans makes a catalogue of, regrettable decisions, doesn't he, after that situation? But we kind of went from lower mid-table under Mick going straight down. Cardiff, Birmingham City, there's other teams who just are fortunate that there are 3 other teams in the Championship who are more dysfunctional. And it seems a weird situation, isn't it? The Championship kind of allows some of these teams who maybe in other leagues would have kind of been relegated, and it might be in their interest to do that. I know we always kind of say, oh, you bounce back stronger, and some teams, look at Bradford, etc., Portsmouth as well, you might not come back, but sometimes you need a bit of a reset, don't you? But yeah, the Championship does give teams stages of execution.
And owners panic, don't they? As we can see with the, Leeds with 4 managers last year to try and stay in the Prem. QPR last 2 weeks ago trying to stay in the Championship. Owners will panic because they are terrified of that drop in revenue. I think it costs you, 10, 11 million quid if you get relegated, which, if you're already pumping in millions a year just to keep the club kind of ticking over, then that must feel like a nightmare scenario too. So owners will panic and they will kind of throw crazy rolls of the dice, like we discussed last week with Leeds bringing in Big Sam for 4 games, which is absolutely pointless, to try and get something to try and keep them above water and keep that revenue coming in.
Yeah. As Rodder says, really don't know what to make of Cardiff. Yeah, we'll talk more about them shortly. Feels like we should win, but a team that can turn up and play out of their skin. And yeah, we'll talk about recent results, a bit up and down, but maybe not as started as badly as, similar to QPR, I guess. We maybe expected a lot worse, and they've got some results and some good performances, maybe haven't turned up in points that they would hope for those performances. Kev has got a very specific request. Can we beat Cardiff? Because every time I drive there, I get bashed. The team got bashed, so please can we give them a bashing for once? #bash. We'll do our best, Kev, for that one. The owner is still around. Maybe it's a bit surprised for folk that Vincent Tan is still the owner after all the situations there. Just give us a potted history of him and some of the stuff that folk might recall.
Yeah, been there since 2010, pumped in an estimated 200 million quid into the coffers to kind of keep the club going and keep it funded. He's a controversial figure. I'm sure we all remember the kit change back in 2012. So Cardiff predominantly playing blue, and he had this crazy idea. Well, he implemented it where he made them play in red for, I think it was 3 seasons, because red in the Far East, where he comes from, is for luck and prosperity and good fortune. He also amended the badge as well to make the Welsh Dragon very prominent and shrunk the bluebird right down and moved it down the badge to try and kind of, because I presume dragons are lucky as well over there. And obviously, the Welsh dragon being a key symbol of Wales. So yeah, he's not without his controversy. That said, he's overseen 2 promotions to the Premier League. They went up in 2013 and in 2018. They won the league one of the years and finished runners up the second time round. But both times they do come straight back down again. And I guess it's just a story of a club that kind of, a bit like we said with Marcus Evans, he's funded it to get them up. They don't make it, they get relegated, and then some questionable big money signings that don't work out, and pretty soon the drawbridge starts to get pulled up with the funding because the losses they've incurred. Their latest set of accounts, the debt to Tan was 125 million odd quid. I think they lost 30 million pounds in the last set of accounts. So very much like Evans, he is simply pumping the money in to keep them ticking over. He has some other interests in football ownership elsewhere. He owns a bit of Los Angeles FC, FK Sarajevo, and KV Kortic, so he's got some other kind of vested interest in football clubs, but he's best known for his kind of controversial time there. That said, under his watch, they have delivered 2 promotions to the Premier League. Yeah,
maybe stretching himself a little bit thin in respect to the ownership of others. But obviously, those won't be majority stakes, perhaps. I don't know some of the details there, but it does feel like you've kind of mentioned the similarities to Marcus Evans, and it maybe just feel like the budgets just aren't there to sustain those challenges. And we know what happens when the budget starts to drop, don't we? Let's talk about state of play, where things stand. I kind of said that maybe things aren't going as bad as some pundits pre-season had expected, but they are 17th, aren't they? And only 1 win so far.
Yeah, but they're doing the fan base is pretty happy with how they're going. I mean, they're 17th in the league. They've won once, which was last weekend out against Sheffield Wednesday, with a very late winner. I think it was 98th, 99th minute winner. They've had a draw against Leeds on the opening day, 2-0 up in that game. Obviously, we saw Leeds tear us to pieces last weekend down the flanks, so that's not a result to be sniffed at, I don't think. And they've had the 2 defeats. The surprise one, obviously, is QPR. It came in game week 2 after QPR got absolutely thumped by Watford on the opening day, and that was one where we kind of sat up a little bit and thought, oh, wow, that's a bit of a coupon buster. And Leicester, I mean, if you played Leeds and Leicester in your first 4 games, then to be fair, you're going to maybe struggle a little bit. I think the fans are pretty pretty happy with what they're seeing. It's a transition year for them. They're trying to kind of move away from the old Cardiff sort of long ball and move towards a shorter passing game. 6 goals have been scored, 7 goals conceded, but they do love a bit of late drama. They've had goals after the 90-minute mark in 3 of the 4 games so far. There was the very late Leeds equaliser to make it 2-2. The Leicester winner by the chap on loan from Chelsea, whose name I can't remember off the top of my head, and obviously the late winner for themselves last week, the penalty that Ryan Wintle took against Sheffield Wednesday. So might not be a game to duck out of at 85 minutes.
Ike Ugbo is the name you're looking for. And we'll talk more about him in a second. New feature on the podcast. Everyone can get involved, including Seb. I have found a moment of ITFC history against Cardiff from years gone by. I will play you the commentary from said moment. It will give away what the moment is, but I want to know what season it was, what the score in the game was, and any other significance that you can remember. So let's press the right button and see what we've got. And apologies if it's loud. I haven't checked the levels.
Here's Magilton. Cucci decided to go for the driller. Oh, he's lost it to Richards. And Shefki Cucci's going to have another go. Oh! Fabulous finish. Shefki Cucci shows the way.
So we'll come back later on, and I'll actually show you the goal.
Oh, do I get to do it now? Oh, okay.
We'll let everyone have a chance to frighten the think walk. There you go. I haven't seen that for a while.
Knowledge.
And yeah, there's an interesting ITFC Cardiff connection as well in the teams as well. But yeah, watch season. What was the result? And any other interesting facts. But we'll come back to that. Let's talk about our general record against Cardiff, Seb, the history. And yeah, you've got the last time we played them, and you've written here, I have no recollection of this game. I have no recollection of this game either. So
in my defense, I was drinking in Central Park. I was in New York, and I was fairly well drunk in Central Park. That's why I can't remember it, to be honest.
Yeah, but I can't. I'm certain I wasn't doing that, and I can't remember it either. So tell everyone about it and see if that wasn't going to make my video. But yeah, if anyone can remember, February 2018 was it?
Yeah, it's just after the 1-1 defeat at Carrow Road. It was the Tuesday night or the Wednesday after the Sunday game that would have been against Norwich, and the 1-1 defeat where we conceded in the last minute. We all know what happened there. I've got absolutely no recollection. I'm not going to lie. It's towards the end of Mick's tenure. I guess Mick goes a month later, so it's just kind of us, getting turned over at Portman Road. I think we lost to Hull 3-0 in the same kind of time period. We started with the front two of Selina and Sears. Mick said afterwards he was delighted with the performance. He couldn't have asked for any more from the lads. But yeah, we lost 1-0, and that's on their way to getting promoted to the Premier League. So I have absolutely nothing further to say on that because I can't remember it in the slightest. I think games at that part of the season and that part of Mick's tenure towards the end, they kind of blur into one for me. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, you've kind of put them in the back of your mind to make space for new things, haven't you? So yeah, if you can enlighten us on that game, if you can remember anything about it, let us know in the chat. We're struggling there. Overall record though, Seb, is marginally in our favour though, isn't it?
Yeah, we've got a slight advantage. 21 wins, 14 draws, and 16 Cardiff wins. So we do have a slight advantage over them.
There you go. Let's talk about recent results then. We mentioned a few of them there, but a victory, a goal for Sheffield Wednesday's Barry Bannon in this one, which was pretty decent, wasn't it? But it didn't matter because...
Yeah, no, it's a 2-1 victory at home over Sheffield Wednesday. Ike Ugbo, who they've signed on loan from Troyes, he's kind of doing the business for them in the opening games of the season. And then a 98th minute penalty from defender/midfielder Ryan Wintle. 59% possession, 12 shots, 4 on target. We know Wednesday have started absolutely appallingly. Join us in a couple of weeks' time when we discuss how they're getting on. Their season is not going to plan at all. And it's a big win for them. It's a decent result. Like I said, they've already played Leeds and Leicester in the first 4 games of the season. So I guess they'll be looking at that one in QPR and thinking that's a chance to pick up points. QPR didn't go to plan, but they'll be pleased themselves picking up their first victory of the season.
And then continued it in the Carabao Cup.
Yeah, they won 3-1, didn't they, in midweek? So a raft of changes. I think there were 10 changes they played Birmingham. There were 10 changes by Cardiff, and there were 6 changes for Birmingham, but they end up with a 3-1 victory. Birmingham were reduced down to 10 men. Jukowicz got sent off about 10 minutes or so into the second half, but they played well, bossed the game. Young prospect Ruben Colwell, who's been called up to the Wales under-21 squad, got a goal and an assist. So, that's 2 wins on the bounce, a little bit of momentum for them. Birmingham, we know, have started the season really well. Okay, there were a lot of changes from the Birmingham side, but I know down to 10 men, but it's still 2 victories on the bounce and looking to come to Portman Road with a little bit of kind of optimism in their sails.
And maybe a little bit of punchiness. Gary's recalled this great moment when Sol Bamba lost it with Neil Warnock being subbed, wasn't he?
Was that the Cole Scouse goal game?
It might have been, yeah. I'm guessing 16, 17 would probably be my guess.
14-15.
Was it?
The Cole Scouse goal was 14-15. Yeah, it was 3-1, and obviously
this was a Tuesday night, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a Tuesday night. Yeah, it was.
Okay. Yeah, there you go.
So,
a bit more detail if you can, confirm whether Sub's got that right or not. I don't know.
Did he get subbed and he completely lost it on the touchline, didn't he? I think, his head went, didn't it?
Yeah. Let's talk about key personnel. We've talked about the managerial situation. Errol Bulut is not a name that I'm particularly familiar with, Seb. Done pretty well, I think, in his native. I think he's Turkish, isn't he?
Yeah.
In the Turkish league, but one of these kind of punts maybe from Vincent Tan, perhaps. I don't know if I'm being harsh. I mean, he's got pedigree, obviously, but not particularly known in the English game, is he?
No, he's an unknown over here. He's managed over 200 games in the Turkish Super League, including a spell at Fenerbahce. So he's no mug. He got some success at Yeni Malatyaspor and Alanyaspor. He got them both into the Europa League qualifying positions. Okay. He played a playing career, Eintracht Frankfurt, Fenerbahce, Olympiakos. So done some decent work out in Turkey. And obviously now he's an unknown to us. We did the 1-24 show with Gab Sutton in the summer, and we both put Cardiff in our bottom three. And a big reason for that from me was that the manager was a complete unknown coming into English football.
Eintracht Frankfurt.
What did I say?
Heinrich, I think. Possibly, I'm not sure.
That's German
doesn't
name.
Matter. Oh, there you go. Hello, German listeners. In terms of more personnel, I've alluded to the prodigal son. Do you want to talk? I mean, two pretty marquee signings, I'd argue, that one's a free and one's a loan. Talk to us about
Aaron Ramsey is the headline, isn't it? He's come back to the boyhood club. I didn't realise how little he actually played. He was only there for 2 or 3 years before Arsenal kind of snapped him up. And he's had this spell at Arsenal for so many years, horrific leg break. He went back on Cardiff on loan. Then he moves to Juventus, goes to Rangers on loan and misses a penalty in the Europa League final, if I remember rightly. And then a spell at Nice last season. Then he's come home and he's being managed. He's playing as the number 10 in a 4-2-3-1. His game time is being managed. He doesn't make the 90 minutes mark. I think they're kind of looking to ease him in and make sure they get the most out of him. We've seen his goal against Leicester 2 weeks ago. He's still got a cracking strike on him if required. So he's obviously a top class player. He's probably too good for the Championship, let's be honest. But, he's gone back to the club that he started with, the club he's got very affection for, a bit like when Theo Walcott went back to Southampton. It's nice to see sometimes these players go out and play at the top level and earn their millions, and they come back for a final spell before they sort of retire. But he's not as old as I thought he was. I think he's only 32. I thought he was 35, 36. So if they can manage his game time, he'll be an incredibly useful asset for the rest of the season and potentially moving forward.
Yeah, and Kylan Grant as well.
Yeah, a sort of winger / striker who's coming on loan from West Brom. He got a big money move to Huddersfield, 15 million quid from Huddersfield to West Brom in 2020. Didn't really work out for him last season. Only 3 goals in 31 appearances for West Brom. He did okay the first season he joined, but struggled last year. And he's been brought in to kind of score the goals and provide the kind of direct, pacey, powerful threat on the wings. Yeah,
I mean they've signed a few strikers. You've got Yaku Mate signed from Reading, someone we know. I think he scored in that 2-2 draw under Lambert.
Yeah.
I've mentioned Ike Ugbo as well, who's I think their top scorer.
He's got three in the first 4 games. Full Canadian international. Went to the World Cup last year. Seems to be very much. I think all his goals have come from within the 6-yard area. He kind of comes alive when the ball is in the 6-yard box. He's on loan from Troyes. Pacey, bit of a poacher. Came through at Chelsea, so I think he's a pretty decent signing for them. I also like Josh Bowler. They've signed from Forest, who's a winger. He won't play on the weekend. He's injured on the weekend, but he's a winger who can cover both left and right side. He was at Blackpool last year. He's another sensible signing. Runar Runarsson, a goalkeeper, has come in on loan from Arsenal, and the manager did a plea in midweek saying they were desperate for centre-backs. He's gone back and signed a centre-back and a central defensive midfielder from the Turkish Super League. He was saying in the after the midweek game where they played 2 players out. They had no centre-backs. They played 2 players out of position against Birmingham.
Harry and G, the right back was a centre-back, wasn't he? I know that.
He was saying, please give me a centre-half. And they've been linked tonight. You found it. They've been linked with the Forest guy whose name escapes me. Who was it you sent me?
Shane here, kind of very close to Jonathan Panzo and Kiefer Moore. I think Panzo is also wanted by Swansea. I think that's a bit further, unless Shane, you're in the know and I'm not.
That would be spicy on the Welsh derby day, depending on what side he chooses.
I wonder whether he might favour Swansea under Duff, but
maybe
Kiefer Moore has been linked throughout, hasn't he? That would be a good signing for them. But I thought
it would be.
Bournemouth had I'm going to do a Sebism. I thought Bournemouth had come out and said that he wasn't going to go anywhere, but
no, apparently you
shame
can
I
leave
know
it.
more than we do.
Apparently you can leave. Cardiff have got an embargo until January. They can't pay any fees for a player. It's all frees and loans until January. It was till the summer, but it got reduced by one window, so they can't make any signings for money. But Bournemouth still owe them on some of the transfer fee instalments for Kiefer Moore. So I think there's a suggestion they could do a bit of a deal with the remaining payments and look to take him for the season.
Yep. And I mean, in terms of exits, nothing really worth reporting here. Some names that, Connor Wickham left, didn't he? Had his little spell released there.
Yeah.
But otherwise, nothing really.
His squad players
surprising.
out. Max Waters, defender, went to Barnsley. Ryan Allsop went to Hull, goalkeeper this week. And Romani Sawyers, who was at one time a £3 million player, I think, when he went to West Brom from Brentford. He's been told he can leave. He barely features as well.
And there was one today that on Thursday when we record, Jack Simpson has left. And there was a 16-word statement put on the website to announce it. We can confirm that Jack Simpson has today left Cardiff City Football Club by mutual consent. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Almost as heartfelt as the Romelu Lukaku one that was announced by Chelsea earlier. Yeah, he missed midweek. Bulo came out after the game and said that he was unavailable due to illness, and then suddenly he's been mutually consent FC'd on the Thursday evening. So read into that what you will.
Yeah. Can you give us any kind of insights tactically on how Cardiff might set up? It looks like it's a 4 at the back, isn't it? So, but yeah, a little bit of. I was going to ask you about Mark McGuinness. He's still there, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Yeah, it's a 4-2-3-1 they'll play with Aaron Ramsey as the number 10. McGuinness, we know from the loan spell in 2021, is the sort of their powerful. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it was the behind closed door season, wasn't it?
Was it? Wow.
Yeah. Lambert's the half Lambert, half Cook kind of season. He's still there. Signed a new 4-year deal quite recently. I think it might have been in the last couple of weeks or so. He'll be the centre half. As we remember, he's a big guy. Big, powerful,
for them at the time,
strong. Yeah, decently. Well, he went on to Sheffield Wednesday on loan last season for the first half, didn't he? And I guess they kind of thought he was going to move on, but given the managerial upheavals, he came back in, and I guess Lemucci must have liked what he saw, and he kind of reintegrated his way back into the side. But he'll be one of the centre halves, and then Ike Ugbo's the man in form up front. Ramsey's the number 10, like we said. Left wing will be interesting. Callum O'Dowd has started well. He's got 2 assists in the first 4 games, but he's injured, according to the pre-match presser. So we might see Callum Robinson maybe come in. One-time £8 million player. I've done this a lot today, recalling old transfer fees. One-time £8 million player from Preston to Sheffield United a few years ago, or Callum Grant could pop out to the left-hand side. And they've got a couple of exciting young prospects as well. We've got Ruben Colwell, we spoke about earlier, who scored and assisted in the Cup game and got a Welsh under-21 call-up. And they've also got Ollie Tanner, who is a centre-forward as well, who could feature from the bench.
There you go. Any stats that you want to call out to maybe give us a sense of what we might be expecting?
Well, they're trying to move away from the old style sort of Cardiff long ball to a more shorter passing side. The possession is pretty low. 31% possession is the third lowest, but they have played Leeds. The caveat needs to be they've played Leeds and Leicester in this kind of in these statistics. They've conceded 3 goals from set pieces away from home, which is the worst in the league. So fill your boots, Leif Davis, Cameron Burgess, Luke Wolfenden got on the edge of things. A set piece could well be a way to get a breakthrough. They're poor in the air. 11 aerial duels. 1 is the third lowest, which again explains why they're not great at defending set pieces. They don't shoot that much. 9 shots per game is the 4th worst. They're not fouling enough. 8 fouls per game is the 3rd lowest. Maybe there's a bit of an element of not being overly streetwise. Maybe Bullo needs to kind of up his kind of championship housery to try and have some of those tactical fouls bring into the game. They 23 clearances per game is the second highest, and as we said earlier, they do love a late goal. 3 goals after the 90 minutes, and they've also conceded 2 goals in the 10 minutes before half time. So they are vulnerable in the run up to half time and the run up to 90 minutes. There
you go. Worth looking out for that then. Thank you, Seb. We will do predictions shortly, but let's go back to our Cardiff Ipswich history quiz. We've only got one person in the comments who's bothered to indulge me. If we don't,
I know what it is.
We won't continue it. Was it too easy? I thought I'd start it easy because.
Can I reveal what it is? What I think.
Let me show the goal first. Let's do it.
Okay.
Here's Magilton. Cucci decided to go for the driller. Langley's lost it to Richards, and Shefki Cucci's going to have another go. Oh! Fabulous finish! Shefki Cucci shows the way.
If you're watching that back on YouTube later on, and there's no footage there, the YouTube police will have struck. But hopefully we've got through that one because it was over 20 years ago, I think. Seb, enlighten us.
I think it's the last day of the 2003-4 season. We drew 1-1 and we ended up getting in the playoffs where obviously we lost to West Ham. Did we finish 5th, I think, that season? That's what I think it's from.
Correct, yeah. So Sunday, 9th of May, 2004.
Do I get an extra point on the predictions for that?
You do not.
Why?
And
Rubbish.
Because it's entirely different
Rubbish.
feature. Cucci, 26th minute, Bullock for them, 41st. There were 3 ex-Ipswich or to-be Ipswich players in the Cardiff team. Care to have a guess who they were?
To be Ipswich players?
Well, 1 was to be...
Chopra?
Nope, not in 2004. He would probably still be at Newcastle at that point if he was come through.
Jason
Alan Lee.
DeVos?
No, he wasn't at Cardiff, was he? Wigan.
DeVos?
Yeah, he wasn't at Cardiff.
Oh, yeah, he was a Wigan, wasn't he? Oh, Alan Lee. Okay.
Alan Lee was leading the line.
Yeah. Right.
Gary Croft was playing for Cardiff. I don't remember that move.
Yeah, it's where he went after he left us.
And Neil Alexander was on the bench, who would later on play in goal for us for half a season. Yeah, Town finished 5th. That point secured a playoff spot. We would have finished 6th and played Sunderland in the playoffs rather than West Ham had we scored 1 less goal. In the end, Crystal Palace ended up playing Sunderland and they went up. That was the Ian Dowie season, Seb, where he had his amazing second half run. So there you go. If you like that feature or not, let us know. We might come back and we'll do that again. In terms of bits and pieces of information before we start talking about Ipswich, as always, we're brought to you in partnership with the Greyhound. There is no better place to head before the game than the Greyhound. Do have a foundation burger in support of the ITFC Foundation. Go and enjoy the outdoors facilities, the outdoor bar, etc. And go and have a chat with any Blue Monday people that you see hanging around, milling around there. Merch store.
I'll get there at 10:45 in the morning.
Yeah. If you want to get a table, that's get your camp out overnight. Is the advice on Funrow Road. Merch store. We've got a promo in a couple of weeks, so if you want to get some Blue Monday merch, maybe wait a couple of weeks. But all the cool stuff that we keep talking about, the Telegram group, which will be open for match day discussion on Saturday morning after it's been used for transfer chat on Friday, depending on when you're watching that. There's a link there on Blue Monday, itfc.co.uk. Get involved. We do love the Telegram chat. Really great stuff. And the match day chat, if you're not able to get to the game, is probably the next best thing, I'd argue. So yeah, Blue Monday, itfc.co.uk. 2-week free trial of Telegram as well on us. And then a subscription after that. And as always, the Flagship Show will be back on Sunday night. Ben back in the host chair with Dave and Joe talking about Cardiff after the fact. So do join them. And as always, please give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe on YouTube. We're here ahead of every ITFC game as well and on afterwards as well. International break coming up, so we'll have to figure out what we're going to do. Obviously, we won't be here next week, but I'm sure we'll have some good content for you in absence of actual football to talk about. And if you're listening on the podcast app of choice, give us a review. We do appreciate those too. Anything else to add there, Seb, before we talk about us and what you might expect from our lineup? I think
you've done an excellent job. Just to plug Telegram as well. You said if you're away from home, the match day chat is brilliant. If, like me, you live further afield, then the match day chat is superb because you get so many different points of view from the ground. It paints a really, really good picture. So I can't go to all the games. I live up in Chester, so I kind of get to 1, maybe 2 a month at Portman Road, and that match day chat helps me because I can see. People are giving opinions all around the ground. They're seeing all different things, and it really does paint an absolutely excellent picture of what's going on. So highly recommend it for those of you like me who live a bit further afield but want to feel involved on a match day.
Yep. Good stuff. And plug there for the Greyhound as well, David. Quite agree. A lot of really great chat tonight, which I'm doing my best. It's like Telegram, Seb. There is all kinds of stuff.
The rules discussed. Make everyone have fun.
Yeah. I see chat about stuff. Please be respectful and please don't make accusations, etc. Let's be careful. Questions about stuff about Gary Croft in there, Seb. And stuff about third kits as well, Jason. I see that as well. We're not going to go anything controversial, but we do want to hear from you. Get your thoughts in on how Ipswich might line up. Do you expect Dane Scarlett to start? Any questions as well? Stick a Q at the start. We'll come to those as well, and we also will get to predictions too. So. Let's talk about us. Easy question to start with. Is it easy though? Dane Scarlett, does he start? Yes or no?
No, I don't think so. I'd expect him to be on the bench. I guess if Hurst is fit, I presume he comes straight back in. If he doesn't, then Jackson, I thought, was really, really good against Leeds. Made some excellent runs. His decision making has got so good since McKenna started coaching him. So I'd have no issue if he has to start in the number 9 role. And I guess, like we saw with Williams and Hutchison, Scarlett will kind of appear from the bench as and when needed.
And I guess there's big question marks over the right back slot, isn't there?
Yeah, it's not settled down at all, has it? So we assume Donatien's still out. Obviously, Williams played in midweek, scored the own goal, but then grew into the game by all accounts. You know, I've seen some things on social media and stuff, people are almost writing him off already. But, you know, Jesus, he's come through the Man United academy. He's played nearly 50 games in the Premier League. He will be absolutely fine. He just has barely played any football. I know he went on the pre-season tour to the States with United, but I think his last competitive game was last December in the League Cup. So we're going to have to be a little bit patient with him. You know, it's a player McKenna's worked with, so he's a player he knows very well, like Dane Scarlett, and I think he'll be an absolutely excellent signing for us. I presume Clark will come in and start the game. I'd be surprised if Clark can make the 90 minutes given his lack of kind of pre-season involvement and the fact he's missed a few games. So I would expect a switch at 65, 70 minutes, a bit like we saw against Leeds, with Williams coming onto that right back position.
Just need to make sure that we've avoid any kind of counter-attack situations, so that it's a real baptism of fire for him, wasn't it? I felt really sorry for him. And
I did, yeah, because he's not up to match sharpness, and to come on against that front, I mean, Sinistera was absolutely superb on the day, wasn't he? And a lot of people saying, you know, that's not the best way to mark Ipswich Town debut, but give the kid a break. You know, he's been down here for 4. I remember Leif Davis giving a penalty away against.
Here we go, 3 comments in a row. Neil, Leif was awful, probably a bit harsh, but yeah, he was struggling to get up to speed, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Michael, remember how bad Leif was? God, you guys have been really giving the feedback.
Thank you.
Sensible
people in the chat.
Bolton. Wow.
Exactly. Yeah, sensible people in the chat saying sensible things. Yeah. Well, look, Davis had a shocker at the first. He gave away the penalty against Bolton, but then ended up being absolutely superb. So, you know, people writing Williams off are just, you know, silly.
Quote. Charlie, Taylor may start? Question mark.
Yeah, potentially. Obviously, you know, he did well again in midweek, and Luongo was quite quiet against Leeds. I thought him and Morsey kind of struggled to kind of influence the central midfield. Didn't help by the fact they were both running on bookings sort of halfway through the second half. I guess he's pushing to get in there. It'd be interesting where he does feature when he does come on, because he plays more as a 10 in the cup games, doesn't he? It was Humphreys and Evans in kind of central midfield and Taylor further forward. You assume Chaplin, although he didn't have his best game against Leeds, he still scored. He tends to score in purple patches as well. So you assume Taylor might have to be patient a little bit longer, but I don't think it'll be too long until we do see him get into that starting lineup. I just think it'll be interesting where he kind of slots in.
Yeah, we shall see. I'd be surprised if he starts, put it that way. But there may be injuries that we are unaware of as well. But he's getting there. The minutes are racking up, aren't they?
Are you happy with Jackson up front if Hurst doesn't make it?
Yep. And to that point, JG question: is Ladapo now 4th choice?
Well, I guess, you know, he's more physical than Jackson. It looks like Scarlett's kind of bulked up a little bit. There'll always be a role for Ladapo in the squad, because he can be strong, and you know he's kind of the most similar, I would suggest. Having not seen Scarlett yet in terms of his hold up play, I would suggest Ladapo's probably the most similar to Hurst, but potentially now, yeah. I mean, you're not bringing in a kid from Spurs not to play, and we know McKenna really likes Caden Jackson and tends to drop him in as and when he needs to, based on tactical decisions, and he trusts him in big games as well. And Hurst is your big money signing in the summer, so yeah, I think Freddie probably is 4th choice now. I hope he sticks around though. I'd be disappointed if Freddie goes out the club tomorrow.
You can come back and find out whether that happens with Joe and Craig tomorrow. Talking of Craig, David here. Still no Craig this week, Rich. Teeth or hair? Yeah, he's coming back.
He has to settle down, I think, before he comes back on camera, doesn't it?
The swelling's got to go down. And
that's it, yeah. The bandages come off.
Yeah.
And then
just a recommendation: turn down the contrast as well on your device, and maybe the brightness as well.
He doesn't need a lamp anymore. It's going to be
Have you seen when Firmino had them done? They were almost blue, weren't they? So that's just something to look out for there. But yeah, it'll be looking. I was going to say he'll be looking $1 million.
Splendid.
He'll be looking like he'll be looking £500 or whatever the exchange rate is for the
500 quid. You're optimistic.
Well, he's had double bubble, hasn't he? So
of course, yeah. Sorry, I forgot that.
Yeah, there you go. Should we do some predictions? Get your predictions in for Ipswich Cardiff now. We will see you on the other side of these titles. Do love that little bit of editors. Shout out to Ed from editors and the band editors and their management for continuing to let us to use A Ton of Love. If you've always wondered what the song is, A Ton of Love by Editors, there's a link in the YouTube comments as well. I'm a big fan of that song. And
it's a great driving song as well.
Air drumming to that bad boy. Let's have a look what happened last week, shall we? Boom. Back at it, but Seb's still leading the way on points and points per game, but rounds, it's 2-1 to me. So catching you back, that t-shirt design, keep that on hold. Grr, fighting talk. Let's see what's going on this week. I've forgotten to highlight the Ipswich fixture in blue for those of you watching.
Professionalism is.
So yeah, a bit of a rush there, but it's a lot of what's in the comments. Why are there, Seb, you asked the question about the kickoff times gone.
Yeah, I was preparing my predictions. There's 3 12:30 games on Saturday, and I've got no idea why. There's Birmingham Millwall, Sunderland Southampton, and Swansea against Bristol City. They're all 12:30 kickoffs, and I've got absolutely no idea why. Any ideas? If anybody knows, please put a comment in the chat. There is a Premier League game, so it's not for a lack of options. One of them must be on Sky. I presume Sunderland Southampton might be on Sky, maybe, but I don't know why there's 3. I don't understand. Maybe there's a big event in the country that I'm unaware of.
Does it make you really angry?
Not really, no.
Okay, fine. I was trying to wind you up.
Not as angry as the PFA announcements.
Oh, transfer deadline day. Oh, let's bring back Football Room 101. Let's have a look at the games then. I'm looking through these, Seb, and again, the only one that really jumps out as being an exciting potential matchup is Leeds versus Sheffield Wednesday, purely because you've got
Yorkshire,
Yorkshire, and you've got seemingly upwardly mobile Leeds who've signed Jed Spence since
mental,
played us.
Isn't it mental?
I don't think they've sold any of that front four either.
No.
And Sheffield Wednesday obviously in a bit of trouble.
Yep.
But knowing football,
Sheffield Wednesday will bloody win,
won't they?
Yeah, 1-0 to Sheffield Wednesday, and we'll be sat here in 2 weeks' time discussing Sheffield Wednesday on the back of their victory at Elland Road.
But neither of us expected that. We're expecting.
No, I don't expect that. I mean, they'll concede goals. I think you're optimistic having a clean sheet there for Leeds, given how poor some of their defending was. But that front four were immense, and if they all stick around, I haven't seen any links with them moving on. So if they do all kind of stick around, then obviously I think Wednesday could be in for a very difficult day. And then it's an international break, so what's Chansiri gonna do? Would he fire the guy after 5 games? I wouldn't put it past him. Put it that way.
Yeah, watch that space. Worth noting, the Leeds lost to Salford midweek in the Cup, though, with a few of those first-team players in the team, including Nonto as well. So maybe Leeds not quite firing on all cylinders just yet. Any other games there? You mentioned Sunderland and Southampton.
Leicester Hull, I think, is an interesting one. We've both gone for Leicester victories. They started the season well, but as have Hull. Middlesbrough, we've all gone for them kind of getting their season up and running against QPR at the Riverside. They've not got going at all, Borough, have they? So it's a fairly straightforward one in theory. And then Norwich, annoyingly, against Rotherham. Rotherham got absolutely stuffed in the week by Stoke, didn't they, in the League Cup? We've all kind of predicted through gritted teeth. We've all backed Norwich in that one as well, haven't we?
Including Jules, who shout out in the chat, Jules there. In terms of us then, we're all predicting, no surprises, a home win, but it's a really difficult one to call. I've gone for the 1-0. But yeah, you've gone for a 2-0. You're a bit more confident.
Yeah, again, like you say, it's a difficult one to call because we don't know that much about their manager and therefore how they're going to kind of, line up and go for it. They concede goals, they score goals. They've always got someone like Ramsey in their locker or Callum Grant who can produce a little bit of magic. They've got a striker in form. So I don't think it'll be that straightforward, but I do expect maybe not a comfortable victory, maybe like a 1-0 to like the last 10 minutes. And then a bit like Stoke, chance after chance and maybe the icing on the cake later on in the game. But I am confident. I think we'll win this one.
Yeah.
And that's a great test, isn't it? To bounce back after, I know we played Reading and won on penalties in the week, but to bounce back after that Leeds performance will be really, really crucial. If we can do that, then, if we sit here and say going into the first international break, you've picked up 12 points after 5 games, we would have all absolutely snapped your hand off. Yeah,
I agree with that. Yep, spot on. Let's see what the chat have got to say with the scores. Philip was going for a 3-1. Another 3-1 from Michael, 2-0. HCH going with a 2-1. Charlie going for a 2-0. Eric's going 1-1. Eric's always a little bit more on the fence, isn't he? I remember from last season. Matt's going for a comfortable 3-0. Gary's going 2-0. Mullet, here we go. 5-1, Seb.
Well, you don't get the hat-trick scorer anymore this season. Last year, it was always Ladapo hat-trick. So I think he needs to up his game there and start including player scorers.
Show us the work in. Neil's going for a 2-1. we've got The Universe Doesn't Care, 3-0. Yeah, love it. Some confidence there. Colin's going for a 2-1. I think it'll be tight. But I think home advantage going to be important for us. And yeah,
Chaplin to score again.
Chaplin to mark his PFA award, and maybe Dane Scarlett to with a goal as well. That would be, and maybe Brandon Williams to fire. This Harry Clark goal that we've been waiting for. Maybe Brandon Williams will use.
He was close against Leeds, wasn't he?
He was, yeah, he was. Matt, listen to Ton of Love on the way to the Greyhound before the Exeter game in April. Set the whole day up right. Yeah, cracking song that.
Yeah.
And thanks again to editors. We will come back. Oh, Kev's gone for a 1-1. There we go. Ipswich, the old boy, the ability to bounce back here. Bounce back is the issue. We will find out more, won't we? Mansour's gone for a 4-0. I think that feels like a good point to end the predictions. We'll be back next week or in 2 weeks' time. See how we've got on. Any more shout outs and questions, get them in the chat now. We will blitz through the chat before we say goodbye. Just one more opportunity to say thank you to the Greyhound, our partners for this podcast. Do come back 24 hours time if you're watching this live, or if you're watching this on Friday, come back and watch Craig and Joe. We're pretty certain that will happen. There's a little bit of logistics at play, but keep an eye on our socials. We'll let you know what's going on there.
Even if there's no transfers, come watch it anyway, because you can see Craig and Joe try and talk about something for.
Well, they'll do their review
minutes.
of the squad, won't they? And you can all bemoan how we haven't signed Ellis Sims and Tom Cannon and all the other targets that we were supposed to be linked with as well. So yeah, they're the guys for that kind of stuff. Join them tomorrow for that, and join us back on the Flagship Show on Sunday to talk about Cardiff, whatever the outcome. Hopefully, a positive one. And we will, we'll let you know what we're doing next week as well during the international break. But I'm sure there'll be something. Seb, as always, thank you for your research. What's any final thoughts from you?
No, thank you to everyone for getting involved in the chat. Join the guys tomorrow night for the window. Hopefully, a little bit of business. It sounds like there might be a couple of outgoings, and hopefully at least one incoming. So join Craig and Joe for that. Join the guys for the Flagship. And because have we got to flip it now because we lost to Leeds? Have I got to sign us out?
Oh wow, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Is that how we're going to do it? Is that
so? I'm just putting a few more comments up. Does the Eurostar have Wi-Fi? Craig, be like Portillo. His journeys on the train podcast. I'm sure that will go down well on a Friday night, won't it? I can't wait for Craig's up to date. Craig, gang, we love Craig. He's been. We'll be glad to have him back on the show as long as his Wi-Fi can hold up. So yeah, do join him and Joe. They'll both have some nice French tans, won't they? Or European tans is what we want to say. Thanks, Jules, for your predictions. Appreciate that. Neil, thank you for your involvement. Neil, thank you for your involvement too. David, Jason, Rodders as well. Thank you guys. As Colin says, 12 points out of 15 would be brilliant. Seb, I'll hand it over to you then.
Thank you everyone for watching. Let's go into the international break with 12 out of 15 points like Colin just said. Come on, you Blues.